guys, girls, and non-binary pals. Welcome back to my channel, and today I wanted to cover everything that I've been preparing for the patch 6.05. Now, I'm going to cover all the items, all the stockpiles, my expectations, and things you might want to avoid. And hopefully will net me 10 million gil on the first day. So with that being said, let's get into it. So there's going to be 6 sections. Any lists that are mentioned will be down below, and of course timestamps. So the first thing that I'm going to cover is things to have on hand. You want to have every master book unlocked. That counts for crafting and your folklore tomes. Now, of course, there is a full video on how to unlock these via scripts in a few of my videos. You can check them here, or I can just tell you now, it's for crafting. They are unlocked via white scripts under the Master Books tab, and for gathering, you need the tokens here at Ratzehan, and the vendor right next to it. You can unlock each book for 16 tokens each. So make sure you have these done before the patch drops. Now, if you only see this video now and you don't have them all unlocked, you're going to be working for a little bit because it does take a while to get all of them. It's a lot of tokens needed, but it's very important that you do because these items will be used for the new recipes, meaning they're going to be extremely expensive. From what I've seen on my market board, people are already posting a lot of these items for quite cheap. If you can snag a few, stockpile a little bit, maybe you don't have to worry about it too much if you're planning on crafting day one, since you can just buy the mats. You'll still make a profit nonetheless. You also want to have a bunch of materia for yourself because crafting gear will also be there, also new gathering gear. I personally stocked up on a bunch of blue materials just for myself, so when I get my hands on a new piece, I can immediately meld it. I also have a bunch of HQ Spirit Bond pots, my desynthesis leveled, my retainers leveled, flying unlocked in all areas, and plenty of crafting potions. And I'll show which one I'll be using on the screen, but usually I aim for the one that gives you CP. So now I'm gonna go over everything that I stockpiled and in the process of still stockpiling. So the first one, of course, is materia. I stockpiled on the blues and the red materials for myself and for flipping later on, both 9 and 10 and some 7s. I just looked at the melding list for crafters and I paid attention to which melds are needed the most, usually command, and I bought the most of those, and for the rest, I bought a little bit. I also maxed out my tomes of aphorism. It's really important that you do because the new tome materials will be from the aphorism tomes. I'm also in the process of stockpiling each new mat, but first I'm going over the most recent ones, meaning the level 88 and the level 86 mats. I also stockpiled on the new folklore mats and of course the new Aethersands. All the colored ones and the white ones too. Some of the high-level fish used in the most recent recipes, meaning of course the level 88 recipes, and some leave quest items such as the Ponderer, because I know some people will be leveling last minute trying to craft their raid gear. The next section is having a balanced workflow. Not the most exciting thing, but it is very important because you're going to be balancing a whole load of crafts, rotations, time nodes, etc. Of course, I recommend Teamcraft. If you're not already using it, I don't understand why, but Garland Tools is also a very nice tool if you're looking for where something is located, and a whole list of time nodes as well. I will link down below a Aethersand list, a list of folklore items, so you can also keep track of these nodes as well. The next section is expectations. What I kind of expect from already crafting in a few raid tiers. Undercutting is going to be very heavy, and be prepared for it because the majority of the sales that are going to make the most is the first 10. I think in around 4 or 5 days, it's going to drop to around maybe 100k, and then a week later it's going to be 40k, like how the crafting gear. Keeping in mind how many people are actually crafting, are new to the expansion, and will actually be playing. But that doesn't mean you can't make a whole lot of money, it just means you might be sitting at the bill a little more than usual. And material will of course skyrocket. I would heavily advise you stockpile them, and stockpile the usually cheap ones, meaning the purple and the yellow ones as well, for transmutation. And the second to last section is what to avoid. Don't buy melds on this day. It's gonna be extremely expensive because most people are not preparing and they're gonna skyrocket like crazy. This is going for crafting, gathering, and your job gear. Try to buy now, even just 24 hours before the patch. You'll save a lot of money that way. Also, avoid not keeping care of your sales. Make sure that you're undercutting because competition will of course be fierce. You don't want to craft everything day one. Your expensive melds that you spend a lot of money for, if you are crafting gear day one, being wasted because you will get bumped down and you will be ending up selling that piece of gear that you crafted day one 5 days later. Aethersands will also be very expensive, so if you plan on crafting a whole load of potions, then I recommend at least buying your Aethersands now than later. Also, stockpiling on your clusters is very important if you do plan on crafting the endgame gear, because they use primarily clusters and they will go up in price. They are quite cheap now. Well, not as cheap as they can be, but cheaper than they will be. So be sure to stockpile on them as well. If you're focusing on gear, take a look at your class. Your Weaver focuses on lightning and wind crystals. Look at that and stock accordingly. And the last section is everything I will be selling. Now, I will be, of course, crafting raid food and pots because I myself will need them. And of course, it will be extremely expensive because a lot of people are going to rush the content. And I'll be focusing primarily on maiming and tanking gear. Primarily because there's going to be a huge influx of Reapers, and tanks are usually very hardcore. You can also do it for Sage, but instead of branching out too much, I'm just going to be focusing on armor and blacksmith. I also will be avoiding accessories because accessories actually tend to drop quicker than the rest of the gear. And not a lot of people pay attention to the weapons, so instead of accessories this time, I'll be crafting weapons instead. I'll also be flipping Folklore mats and materials and crystals as well. Instead of farming, I just went and bought an absolute ton. So I'm really low on cash, but hopefully it'll all come back in my pocket. That's how I plan to make 10 million gil on the first day of patch 6.05. I hope you guys have your first spot in the queue, and I hope you won't get undercut too heavily. And I also hope you make a heck ton of cheese on this beautiful day. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to everyone that supports me on Twitch, Discord, and YouTube. You all keep the channel going. I stream on Twitch and YouTube Monday and Friday, so if you want to hang out at GMT plus 5 p.m, I'd love to see you there. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye!